What would you think of a 32-year-old woman still living with her parents? There is nothing wrong with multi-generational households, and the United States will be a stronger republic when more families come together and build and maintain communities. Decision I made in my life was transitioning from an accomplished high-level career to move back home, so that my elderly mother would receive the care and love she deserves and gave me when I was a child. I may not be changing the world to the degree I used to, but being there for my mom is the best way for me to be a good son. It is very helpful, however, that I am supported by my wife. Nothing if you get along well with your parents and have no reason to move out. It's a smart thing to do. I lived with my mum until I was 26, and I only moved out because I got into a long-term relationship. If I had remained single, I would have had no reason to move out. Why spend all my money on rent for my own place when I could save it up and pay less rent mortgage? With my parent, I'd only judge someone if they weren't working and still living off of their parents unless there's a valid excuse such as being their full-time carer, or disabled to sick to work, etc. 37. Living with family on same property. This is the best opportunity for my son to have a life like I did growing up. In the country, my option to be out would mean my son would lose out on having extended family, cousins, etc. to see and play with, as we would likely move a province or to away to afford a place to live. Wife stays home to provide care for son and aging parents. Takes care of house. I work and help do what she does when I'm home. It works for all of us and I wouldn't change it for anything. I'm a 30-year-old woman who moved in with my father during COVID and still haven't moved out. We are both fine with this arrangement. I'm dating a 43-year-old man who did exactly the same thing, moved in with his mother during COVID and still hasn't moved out. I wouldn't think anything of you. I would think you're a normal person, and things have been super weird lately. We went through a pandemic and now there is an economical issue. Things aren't what they used to be, and even if they were, I still wouldn't think any differently of you. Depends, is it mutually agreeable? Are you paying your way or are you mooching? If you're helping out, taking on some of the chores, paying for your share of what you're using, maybe cooking part of the week, then there is no issue. I get it. It helps with no rent to build a nest egg, and sometimes parents need assistance, especially if one needs a carer on site. I have an issue where people use places like a hotel, breeze in, breeze out, because it's their home, and the parents don't know what they're going to be doing. It's common in other countries to live with parents until they pass. Nursing homes aren't even a thing. That's all America. Other cultures, countries are pretty horrified at the way we treat elders here. There are so many reasons to live at home with the folks, whether that be financial purpose, or to just spend more time with loved ones, or you never know when they will be gone. If it makes you happy, why wouldn't you do it? Because some imbecile thinks it's weird or wrong? Hell no. Do what you need to do for you. It depends on the circumstances. Is she contributing? Is there some sort of end date to her being there? No problem here, as long as she's not expecting mummy and daddy to completely take care of her. A friend of mine moved home with her husband and child, so they could save up for a house faster. I don't think they paid rent, but they contributed equally to all household expenses and chores. In this economy, you're going to see more and more adults either returning home or struggling to leave in the first place. Depends on the backstory. Had to resort to living with her parents again after a career that didn't work out, or an investment that didn't work out, or a relationship that ended up being abusive, then that's one story. But if she'd never tried to do her own thing, and had never left home, and had no intention to, and her parents had always enabled that mentality, then that's another story. Not worse or better than if she were to live alone. She must have her reasons. Maybe the housing market is fucked and she is in between jobs. Maybe she is saving money to buy her own place while cutting day-to-day expenses as good as possible. Maybe she has a really good relationship with her parents and doesn't feel like moving out. Generation houses are super common in a lot of cultures, all valid reasons. I would want to get to know her for her sake. Living situations say very little about a person. That's normal. Outside the USA, extended families are the norm. Kids inherit their parents' houses, Often they even live with their spouses too. Some do eventually move out, but it's not unusual to stay with the extended family, especially with a big ass house. Only a specific few cultures prefer throwing kids to the wolves when they hit 18. The USA is really fucked up in that regard. I think they made up that culture just to sell housing when it was dirt cheap, but now it's stuck as the norm there. I think you make good financial decisions, and if you don't care, then more power to you. My bro lived with my parents till 32. He had a good job, making at least 100k a year. So from age 23-30 to he practically saved everything. He didn't go too much and only bought a few luxury items. When he got married, he pretty much bought the house with cash in like 2010 and now has multiple properties. He's 47 and can probably retire if he wants, so do the smart thing and save you goddamn money. It depends why. The top comments all are saying times are tough, and sure, valid reason, but I wouldn't assume that's the case if I was meeting someone in person, nor would I assume any other reason. Talking about this in terms of dating, I'd be more put off even for a valid reason, because the logistics of wanting to see a romantic partner would be more complicated if they live with their parents. Just not something I'd want to deal with if I were still dating in my 30s. It depends. Does she work and make good decisions but a house is just out of reach? Or is she a degenerate drug addict or lose a single mother who fucks her every life she touched? If she's 32, no job, no money, closet full of shoes and purses and party dresses, then nah. If she live with her parents but is gainfully employed, saves her money, and lives a respectable life, and I don't see a problem. If she lives there because she drinks all her income, then nah. I lived with my parents until I was 24, but I worked my ass off and saved for a house and then bought one. Parents, if you are saving and trying to make a responsible decision like buying a house in the future, but blowing your money because you don't have rent would make you a parasite and irresponsible. So it depends on what her future goals are, or if she is taking care of her parents and possible what she contributes. I'm in my 40s and had my parents move in with me. I've got a whole small house to myself and they're retired. I got hurt financially pretty bad the last few years. It isn't perfect, but it means they're not spending more than they could afford on housing. And I'm paying off my mortgage faster. I think multi-generation, multi-family housing should be more of a thing. But like fancy cars, lawns, and other stupid American conspicuous consumption, it isn't the norm. Honesty depends on the reason. I know the question says woman, but gender doesn't matter. If they live there because they're freeloading by refusing to get a job, if nothing is preventing them from doing so and not helping around the house, then yeah, I'm judging. But if it's cultural, they're taking care of their parents. Temporarily they're getting back on their feet. Just can't afford a place of their own due to call disabled, etc. Then I don't see the problem. The answer is wholly situational. If they're using it as a time to build enough money that they can get their own place, that shows motivation. If they are there because their parents need but can't afford a caretaker, that's also a positive. If they do it because they want to have extra money to waste on frivolous things, that raises a red flag. There's no one universal answer. I would take in the totality of the circumstances when forming an opinion. Depends on the reason. If it is a mutual aid thing and the 32-year-old contributes to the household, who cares? If the 32-year-old is jobless and mum is doing her laundry and cooking her meals, and there is no medical or psychiatric issue going on, then there is a problem. I would love for my daughter to live with us when she starts working and only move out when she wants to start a family, or go in with us on a huge home or to family and share expenses. Are you happy? Are you okay living with them? Yes and yes. Then do it, as no one should tell you what to do with your life and your own choice. Don't think about what other could think or how they would react. Your life, your choice. At 32, we should stop listening to what others say or what the trend is. You are not a bad or lazy person because you are living with your family. It's pretty common in the rest of the world, outside of the Occident. I'm Asian. That's actually pretty normal. even after you're married. Some couples still choose to live with their parents or in-laws depending on which is more practical. I don't know why living with your parents is being stigmatized. You're being treated like a child. You contribute to the household. You help wherever you can, and it frees you up to focus on your career. And you're not wasting a huge chunk of your paycheck on rent. Depends how much was provided to you in life. 3 incomes, private school from K-12, university and dorm paid for, dropped out due to drug and alcohol addiction, lives at his mum's while his immigrant GF works her tail off to support her sick family. That's pathetic. But most of us didn't have that, so I wouldn't judge you. More people in your age bracket today live with their parents than during the height of the Great Depression. We are all going through an unprecedented change. Also, as a woman, you would judge a man for still living at home. That's why you're asking this. But the reverse, are men looking to date a woman still living at home. Men are less discriminatory and judgmental. You'll be fine. Even if you would not reciprocate in the circumstances. I would think it's not my business. Maybe they have a parent who they have to take care of. Maybe they live together for financial reasons. I have a cousin who is disabled from a chronic illness, so is unable to earn enough to support herself. I have an uncle who never moved out who displays a lot of neurodivergent behavior, but is so old now it doesn't even matter. Everyone has their reasons, so I would barely even think about it. I would think nothing of it. My son, his wife, and my 4 grandchildren moved back in with us. They have to type 1 diabetic children. Life is hard financially as it is today. Put 2 type 1 diabetics in the mix, and they constantly struggle. They were both working to full-time jobs and still drowning as a parent. My heart was breaking for them. I'm sure stuff like this is happening everywhere. You have nothing to be ashamed of.